So I had a question on one of the videos that I did recently when I spoke about the banking sector for me to comment on what my thoughts were around the building and construction industry over the next 1, 2, and 3 years. Good morning and welcome to In the Car with Clint. I had a question come through, as I said, about the building and construction industry, and I wanted to answer it the best I could. Obviously my knowledge is around the landscape construction and irrigation industry more than anything else, and so the building industry is, you know, tied to that, but I'm not deeply across everything that's going on all the time, so I'll do my best to give an answer that's good and helpful, without kind of stepping outside of my lane too much. So I think in Australia there's been a lot of money thrown at a lot of people for a couple of years, and there's been a lot of I don't know, how would you describe it, looseness or relaxed. There's been a relaxed approach from the government around collecting tax and ensuring that business owners are meeting their requirements, and it's never ever been easier to run a business in Australia, and that's probably, you know, going back 10 years, 15 years, we've had such good times, and so everyone that wants to be a business owner becomes a business owner, because, you know, it's not that hard. Kind of like driving. You want to not pull out in front of me? And what I feel we're going to see in the coming 12, 24, 36 months is it's like an incremental degradation of this bubble or this buoyancy that we have in the construction industry, and the government can't keep throwing the amount of money that they've been throwing at projects. Obviously, here in South Australia, the Liberal government baked in some pretty hefty infrastructure projects at a commercial level before they finish their term, and so they'll run for the next term of this government. But beyond that, federal government and state government have spent so much money on so many things that at some point it has to stop. And, you know, it's really hard to, like, I personally think that the federal government did a really good job of managing what could have been a very chaotic period when we had the you know, potential that staff were going to get stood down, and they put the mechanism back in the hands of the business owners to manage that. But you can only do it for so long. Like, something, you know, something has to come from somewhere. You can't just keep magically making money appear without having to, you know, do it later. It's like health and fitness, right? You can treat yourself like shit for so long, but you're really just borrowing from tomorrow. And that's the same with the government. You know, they saw a massive trough occurring, they sprinkled money on it and then tried to fill the trough, but eventually we have to pay back that money. So I think that what we're going to see is just, you know, little things slowly just add up, and then maybe a big thing will happen. And I don't want to be dramatic about it, but you know, and I was thinking about this yesterday, I feel like, you know, has every adult generation felt like they're in the worst possible times the Earth's ever seen? You know, like, were my parents feeling like this when they were 40? And then were their parents feeling like it when they were 40? But I just feel like if you were ever going to, and me even producing this video is part of the problem, because if one or two people do what I'm suggesting, then money starts to contract, and then that free-flowing nature of spending stops. And I'm not an economist, this is just my opinion. Then, you know, people stop doing things. So you've got, you know, business finance I spoke about the other day, that tightens up. So maybe I don't expand this year. Maybe I decide to just chill, right, and maintain stuff, bank some money for winter, you know, really like screw all my acorns and make sure that we have a steady year. Now that means I'm not going out and buying stuff, I'm not buying another car, I'm not buying whatever, and then the car dealership doesn't sell that car, and then the owner of the car dealership doesn't buy solar, and then the solar guy doesn't go on a holiday, and then the holiday people don't go buy bread, and it just, that's how the finance system works. And everyone's been so comfortable spending because they've had so much money because of the relief that the businesses were given, as well as, you know, as much as individual employees probably don't feel like they get paid a lot, there's a lot of money gets paid out into the world. You know, the average wage is really quite high, and you know, I guess people will argue that there's still a lot of people below the line of, you know, the poverty line, and that we need to pay people more, but that's a whole nother video. I'm not even going to go into that side of it. So what will happen, you know, we have this what do you call it, like the banking, so they'll tighten up my requirements to borrow money, and then the interest rates will continue to climb, and I'm hoping not much more than kind of like 6 or 7%. I'm hoping that stabilizes things, and then the people might be more reluctant to borrow money because they go, well, I don't know, like I was gonna, you know, renovate my house, but it's a lot more money than it was, and it's no more money than it was 10 years ago. It's just people aren't used to it. You might find, and I don't even know if this has already happened, but the government were giving us 100% asset write-off for vehicles up to $150,000. If that goes away, then, you know, all of a sudden you don't have the tax deductions that a business might have had, and then you're becoming cash poor because you've got to pay that. So that happens, and then all these little mechanisms get changed, and then, you know, now it's like, oh God, it's not as good as it was. And then I think you'll start to see some contractors that thought that they could run a successful business find that it's harder than it looked, and it's not easy to run a business in tough times. Everyone can run a business in good times, and then those people might go get jobs, and so everything will kind of fall back down to its natural order. Like, there's too much work at the moment, and then when that happens, people will stop spending, and then maybe you'll find that there's less money being spent in the building and construction industry, and it will level off. I think, and this is, like I said at the start, my opinion only. I'm not an economist. I'm just doing my thing, but I see things, and I guess I react to them quicker than some other people might. So for me, I am ensuring that I'm not holding any stock that I don't need. I'm ensuring that my tax obligations are met, and that I'm staying, you know, financially fluid. Now, that might be a silly sentence, but it is your obligation as a director of a company, or an association for that matter, to maintain that you are financially stable and that you're not trading insolvent. And I still think we're going to see some big collapses. I think that there's a lot of contracts out there that were signed at $1 that now cost $1.20 to deliver, and that those companies aren't going to be able to go back to the people above them and ask for more money, because that's a contract, right? You know, but there's a lot of jobs getting won earlier and earlier and earlier, and people are signing fixed price contracts around construction jobs, and then materials are going up. And this doesn't even include what happens when, I don't know, there's a trade embargo on China and we don't get to buy anything, right? That's going to take a long time for Australians to learn how to manufacture again. And I know that sounds dramatic, but, you know, I know I'm jumping around a lot, but there's a lot of parts to this. I heard this story once of like Shell, the petroleum company, running simulations on what the world looks like without oil. And I encourage all business owners to think about what the world looks like for you without X. Now, if you're a carpenter, what does the world look like without timber? You know, do you need to reskill to learn how to do steel frame? Or like, even recently I saw that they were pushing for those artificial stone benches to be banned. What does your business look like if that's all you do? You know, how long is it going to take you to start importing stone from another country, or do you need to learn to tool stone from here? So, and I just feel like we're on the edge of a waterfall with a lot of these things all coming together at the same time. You know, it's been very easy for a long time. Because it's been easy, we have weak leadership. You've heard that saying before, and I'll probably get this wrong, but like, good times make weak, I think the saying is men, and I'm probably going to upset some people. Weak men create tough times create strong men create weak times, or something like that. Someone will correct me in the comments. We've had really good times, so, you know, that makes weaker people, and then weaker people make bad times. So I think if I was running a building and construction business right now, this is probably the answer you're looking for. I wouldn't be borrowing too much money. I wouldn't be pushing past reasonable means. So Because on the inverse, and I guess watch what I say, not what I do. I'll during a period of famine, I'll go harder. So we'll increase our content. We're about to advertise for another videographer. We'll start producing more, ads and content, because when things are tough, people are going to be spending more time at home, right? They're not going to be going out and spending thousands of dollars on different things. They're going to stay home and they're going to be watching TV and they're going to be consuming content because it's free. So that's where I want to be. I'll be out there making content and building my business's brands for when we come out the other side. So if you can squirrel some nuts, make sure that you're taking advantage of what happens. You might find that a couple of your competitors' businesses go broke, or some of your competitors shut their business down and they're looking for jobs, so you might pick up some good staff. And ultimately, if you are the best of the best, you'll be fine, because there's always some money. It's just going to be there's going to be more people going for the same jobs, and that obviously impacts it even more because the prices come down. So yeah, I think we're in for some interesting times. I think it's been too good for too long. I think there's been too many B-grade players looking like A-grade players because they're being uplifted by government support and a buoyant economy. Final note, South Australia, last time that we had the global financial crisis, I felt like South Australia didn't get impacted as badly. I feel like South Australia, if it was a graph, if the whole world's graphing really crazily, like the peaks are a lot higher than the troughs, the gap between the peak and the trough's quite big. I feel like South Australia just kind of hums along, and short of anyone extreme and an outlier, no one's like having mental growth. But I think on the inverse of that, no one has mental crashes because the state's quite small and it's a small economy, and by the time the rock falls into the water in the US or in China, the ripple by the time it hits South Australia is quite gentle because we're so small. And I might be wrong, but this is just me shooting the shit for the 9 of you that watch it. I hope that's been of some benefit. I gave very conflicting advice there, but save your money and deploy it against brand during tough times. And probably don't go buying unnecessary bullshit. Now's not the time to be buying, I don't know, you know what you shouldn't be buying. So yeah, I hope that's helped. I might do some more on this another day. I think that's probably enough. I hope it answers the question. It probably didn't, but just if anything, if that gives you enough like pillars of thought to kind of go, all right, what would my business look like if the biggest developers in South Australia did a 12-month pause on subdivisions? Does that mean there's no retaining walls being built, there's no roads being built? What if the state government has to do an aid package and that comes out of the budget for roads, and there's no asphalt, there's no concrete being done? Like, think about those things and be ready. And I think that's the best of the best are the best of the best for a reason, and they recognize patterns and they're ready to go when the hammer falls. Thanks for tuning in. If you've made it this far, you've done well. Be kind to each other. Most importantly, be kind to yourself, and I'll talk to you at some point in the future. See ya.